Hi, everybody. Thanks to all of our wonderful volunteers with earthday.org. We are so excited to be live streaming with you today and really excited to talk to you guys about all the amazing opportunities that we have for you. For Earth Day 2021, our theme this year is Restore Our Earth. And we've got some of our amazing staff that is joining us this morning. What I'd like to do is just give everyone a quick chance to introduce themselves. So I'm going to round robin around right now. And I am Tara Pascarosa, the National Campaign Manager. Peter.
I'm Peter Burr, the Digital Media Associate.
Hi, I'm Jake Rubenstein. I'm the campaign coordinator for the End Plastic Pollution campaign and our Great Global Cleanup campaign.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Van Sicklin, and I'm the Business Development Manager here, and I also work on our reforestation project, the Canopy project.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Rachel Weisbrot, and I am the Communication and Education Manager here.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And if you have questions while we're streaming, you can go ahead and post them right there in YouTube, and we will be answering questions at the end. So just hold tight while we're giving our presentations, and then we will be sure to answer all your questions at the end. Again, I'm the National Campaign Manager, and we are so excited to have everybody here today. And we're very excited that another one of our colleagues just joined. So what I'm going to do is introduce Evan Raskin. He is our National Campaign Manager. I'm actually the National Campaign Director, and we're going to have him talk a little bit about why it's so important to be volunteering.
Sure thing, Tara. Thank you very much. It's great to see all of you here with us today. It really is. I think that one of the most important things that we do with earthday.org is allowing volunteers from around the world to be connected to each other, to elevate their local actions to a global platform, being able to take what we all individually know and understand about the environment to be able to create a worldwide difference. It's only really together by raising our voices and creating a global picture of what humanity wants and needs in order to build a sustainable, equitable future that we're ever going to reach it. And while we all know individually the importance of taking action in the environment, this movement still has room to grow. Even with Earth Day reaching over 1 billion people a year, there's still another 6, nearly 7 more billion that we could bring along the journey with us. And I'm really excited to be here with my colleagues today to tell you a little bit about how we can work together to create this world that we want to see. And back to you, Tara.
Thanks, Evan. Much appreciated. We are waiting for the president of Earth Day Network, earthday.org, to join. Her name is Kathleen Rogers. And while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and just start talking to you all a little bit more about Restore Our Earth.
And I'm here, by the way.
There's our fearless leader, Kathleen. Thank you so much for joining. So this is our president of earthday.org, Kathleen Rogers. I'm going to let you take it away, Kathleen, and tell everyone a little bit about Earth Day, Restore Earth, and why it's so important to volunteer this year with earthday.org.
Yeah, first of all, I can't thank you enough. Volunteers have been the lifeblood of Earth Day since it started in 1970, a long time ago. And it was back then, as you all know, after 150 years of industrial development, that the skies weren't clear, the waters were polluted. And a U.S. senator and a very intrepid student named Dennis Hayes, who's still our emeritus chair, started Earth Day, and we had 20 million people out on the street. And I consider that they were all volunteers. They were all volunteering to be part of this big new movement building business to, take a hard look at what we needed to fix if we wanted to survive as a species. And so volunteerism and the work that volunteers do has been part of our DNA since back then. And having so many of you join us as volunteers this year through the great efforts of all the people at Earth Day, and I see some of them on the screen, and we're very grateful to the staff for having put this together. But we are grateful to you, whether you're helping us with petition drives or doing cleanups or reforesting or talking to your community leaders. Whatever it is that you're doing for Earth Day, it's a giant step in the right direction, and we really couldn't live without you. I know we're hoping to get a message, which I think will probably end up on our website, but I still am trying to connect him to this event. the person who started Earth Day, Dennis Hayes, who was, as I said, a young student and is still helping us with so much of our work. So I'm going to try and get him back online in the next few minutes if I can. And I had a little trouble with the technology myself. Sorry about that. But we are grateful, and I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes, or I could just get off and go see if I can track down Dennis, who he's been the world's best boss, a great guy, really thoughtful, an incredible career, and still changing the world every day. And by the way, is also a volunteer for Earth Day. So thanks for giving me these few minutes, and I can stick around if you have questions. Tara, you want me to answer, or I could go see if I can scare up Dennis.
Yeah, if you want to try to scare up Dennis, that's great. We were going to save questions for the end, but if anyone does have questions for Kathleen while we've got her, feel free to put those in the chat on YouTube right now, and we can field those questions while she's in the interim. So Kathleen, if those questions pop up, Evan will let us know, and he'll go ahead and ask you.
Around for a few minutes and answer the questions, and then I can sign off and see if I can track down Dennis.
That sounds perfect. And so, Halsey, if you don't mind, go ahead and starting the presentation. We'll go ahead and get rolling with that. And, again, let me just emphasize, we couldn't do any of this without you all. Our volunteers are everything to us. And we're really jumpstarting our volunteer outreach. We want to know what's important to you. We want to know what we can do for you, because you all do so much for us. And so as we lean into Earth Day 2021, which is just 23 days away, our theme this year is Restore Our Earth. So next slide, please. And like I said, the theme is Restore Our Earth. Kathleen mentioned that the first Earth Day was on April 22nd of 1970.
And that's Dennis on the right, by the way.
Oh, perfect. That is. There's Dennis Hayes right there. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on today. And he is one of the founding fathers of Earth Day. He was an activist that really got the movement moving. And Kathleen, feel free to chime in too. I mean, this is a casual chat with our volunteers.
Yeah, I'll tell you one interesting thing. So Gaylord Nelson was a young senator from Wisconsin, and he came up with the idea to do a teach-in. So if you look at these pictures, and I'm not sure how many we have, the idea was that he would go to college campuses and start talking about getting them engaged in the environmental movement, which back then, believe it or not, had very few members. I think Sierra Club had like fewer than 150 members, and a few others had 1,000 members. But the environmental community was very unorganized and not really focused on becoming membership entities at the time. But Dennis had an idea that this could really become much bigger than a college campus thing, because the problems were much bigger than just what was happening on campuses. And this was a period of time during the Vietnam War and the civil rights movement. So college campuses were activists. But nonetheless, Dennis thought the environment, which is shared by all of us, was something that people who weren't engaged in the anti-war movement or any kind of social activism might want to participate in. So he went to a PR firm, very interesting. So the thing was called an Environmental Teach-In Day. They picked April 22nd because it was a good day on college campuses. It was during the week, towards the end of the semester, when kids were a little more free of their class schedules, et cetera, and to take advantage of that, all that activity. But he went to a PR firm and said, this name, Environmental Teach-In, is just not doing it for me. And so together they came up with the idea of Earth Day. And it was as if when they spoke those words, it was very odd. It just caught fire. And they ran an ad in the New York Times about it. And they did everything. There were no cell phones. There were no real printers or copiers. So they did everything with a mimeograph machine and snail mail and phone calls to people. And somehow they were able to turn out 20 million people. That photo is of Fifth Avenue in New York City. And the mayor at the time, John Lindsay, fell in love with the idea. He was a Republican mayor, and he shut down large parts of Manhattan, particularly Fifth Avenue. And there were over 1 million people there, 1 million in Central Park, 1 million in Philadelphia. I mean, it was crazy all over the world. And apparently the weather was good across the United States. So turning out 20 million people turned out to be feasible. And interestingly, it remains the largest civic engagement event in human history, which, if you think about it, is pretty remarkable. It was about 10 or 11% of the US population was out on the street that day. And it scared the heck out of our leaders in the United States. And as a result of that, Dennis and his young, idealistic friends were able to convince Congress to pass most of our major environmental laws in quick succession after the first Earth Day. So endangered species, the National Environmental Education Act, a lot of the laws dealing with toxics and pesticides. So it was pretty remarkable time for the years after Earth Day. And we've run into more organized resistance to environmental protection over the years, but I do think we're entering a new period of time, and having volunteers engaged in the environment. And as Tara said, our theme this year is Restore the Earth, which by the way, we decided way before COVID struck us all. And it seems very apt right now because I think we're all feeling that there are a lot more possibilities with the new administration in terms of what we can get done. But also, it's spring, and we're, knock on wood, COVID over the next couple of months will soon be abated if we all pay attention to the rules. And volunteering right now could not come at a better time. And it doesn't really matter what you do, whether you're working to clean up a park or planting trees or anything that you can do to help will be appreciated. And this year it's a massive year for Earth Day. So we're really psyched to be launching that right now.
Thank you so much, Kathleen.
Okay, I will step away and see if I can track down Dennis and get him to come on.
Sounds perfect. Yeah.
I'll be back.
All right. Thanks, Kathleen. Like I said, if you've got questions, we will get those answered when Kathleen comes back. And as she mentioned, the first Earth Day was in 1970 and activated 20 million Americans. So let's do it again. I mean, last year we had millions of Americans that joined in internationally, all over the world, over 8 million people. We had different viewers and impressions on Earth Day Live, which was our first year doing it virtually on April 22nd, and this will be our second year. So although the Earth Day event will be virtual, we need you all in person on the ground helping with all types of different things. Because of these landmark legislations like the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, Endangered Species Act, this is what is protecting our environment. And we need you all to help jumpstart and make sure that we are paying attention to these rules and these laws and that everyone is taking part in this. Next slide, please. Great. So we'll talk a little bit about our mission with Earth Day. And our mission encompasses volunteers. We want to make sure that we're diversifying, that we're educating, and we're activating the environmental movement. We want to make sure that we are recruiting folks from all over different walks of life. We have right now over 75,000 partners. We have over 190 countries that we're working with, and we drive this positive change for our planet. And this is the culmination here, coming up on April 22nd. And for the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, as I spoke about a few minutes ago, last year, we expanded this movement digitally, and we are doing it again this year with Restore Our Earth. And if you could move over to the next slide, please, Halsey. And what we're doing is we're talking a little bit more about the Restore Our Earth, and we have several different thematic campaigns that roll within Restore Our Earth. So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the first couple bullets, and then Evan, I'm going to let you take it away for the next few. That's on the slide right now. So we want to make sure that our only options to save the planet are to mitigate or adapt. And those are not the only options, right? We have so many ideas and options that we can do, from working on cleanups, like Kathleen mentioned, to regenerative agriculture, to climate and environmental literacy, to planting trees, to cleaning up plastic pollution, to making sure you're getting engaged with our app, the Earth Challenge. These are all ways that we can make sure that we are helping this human-caused climate change, and we're combating it every step of the way. So Restore Our Earth is basically, it's combining natural systems and emerging green technologies to restore the world's climate and our ecosystems, to conserve and rebuild our soils, to improve our farming practices, and to restore wildlife populations. and the oceans, clean the ocean free of plastic. Evan, would you like to chime in on the next one?
You hear me? Oh, there we go. Yes, as Tara was saying, Restore Our Earth is predicated on the synthesis of natural and technical solutions to be able to restore balance with our world's ecosystems. It is imperative that we remember as a society, as a civilization, that we are not separate from nature, and that indeed, as much as we love the planet, we are also a part of the planet. We are the planet. And the more that we remember this and draw closer together with unity with our surroundings, the better off we will be. And this year on Earth Day, we want to really highlight the various green technologies, both natural and human-made, that can get us back to this point of balance. And one place in which we must always remember as we move forward with these is the concept of equity and community-based solutions. The fact that not only do we want to build a better Earth because it is the right thing to do for our survival, but also because we seek to create a better quality of life for not only ourselves, but our friends, our neighbors, and families. And this has become more important than ever in the current year as we've had to come together in unexpected and surprising ways to deal with the COVID-19 crisis, which of course is related to the environment in its own ways. And once we come together to restore our Earth in this way, we can also come together to restore our Earth in every other way as well. The time has never been better for us to make a change. The time is now.
It is time to restore our Earth. Absolutely. So one of our colleagues, Jillian Seaman, who is the director of our Regenerative Agriculture and Food Prints for the Future campaign, is unable to join us. She is here in spirit, and we love you, Jillian. So I will do my best to fill her shoes just a little bit. If you could go to the next slide, Halsey, that'd be great. And I will talk a little bit about the 5 thematic campaigns that fall under the Restore Our Earth campaign. So we have Regenerative Agriculture, Food Prints for the Future, Climate and Environmental Literacy, Ending Plastic Pollution and the Great Global Cleanup, as well as the Canopy Project. So in lieu of Jillian not being here, I will try to fill her shoes just a little bit for the Regenerative Agriculture and Food Prints for the Future campaign. So you can take a look at the slide that's actually on right now, and I'll let you all sort of read that, encapsulate what's on there. And in the meantime, I'll just talk a little bit more about what's happening with agriculture. We are facing a trifecta of devastating challenges right now. Today's agriculture practices are responsible for an estimated 1/4 of global greenhouse gas emissions. Extreme droughts and floods, they impact our business and our ability to help feed a growing population. Regenerative agriculture can help reverse climate change by rebuilding soil, organic matter, and restoring degraded soil biodiversity, resulting in carbon drawdown. Healthy soil can sequester carbon out of the atmosphere, store it underground, where it can restore nutrients and feed an array of biology and life that is healthy and sustainable. So with that being said, that sort of lays out some of the foundations of our regenerative agriculture campaign. Part of the problem of that we're facing today is that there are 60 years of soil remaining. So soil capacity is dramatically declining, with some experts predicting that only 60 years of soil capacity remains. The US alone is losing soil 10 times faster than its replenishment rate. We also have a declining workforce. The average age of an American farmer is close to 60, and young people are not choosing farming as a career. So any of you out there that are choosing farming as a career, kudos to you. I have a cousin in Maryland that's actually a farmer, and you just don't see that very often. He's my age, and we just don't see that happening very often. Then also we have the industry consolidation. So the industry consolidation is the ownership of large-scale farms where most food pollution comes from, and it is being concentrated in the hands of industrial producers who may value short-term profits over the long-term health of the land. So that explains a little bit about what's happening in regenerative agriculture, and we want to make sure that we are offering solutions to transform farmers into environmental, and we want to have them be our heroes in society, right? We want to promote the health of the degrading soils by restoring the organic carbon. And this is how we can regenerate our soil and our agriculture. The regenerative agriculture sequesters the atmospheric carbon. So that is a win-win for everyone that's involved in this. And we want to make sure that we are highlighting all of our farmers, that these farmers are being uplifted and giving the resources that they need. EarthDay.org believes that regenerative agriculture is critical to restoring the earth and turning the clock back on climate change. We are working today and every day to make regenerative agriculture the standard for agriculture. So with that being said, I'll move on to our Food Prints for the Future campaign, which Jillian also runs. And so our food system is rapidly deteriorating the planet. And in its current form, we won't be able to feed the over 9 billion people that are inhabiting the earth by 2050. It's 2021. That's just right around the corner. You know, this is something we need to take heed on immediately. And we're pushing our food security to the edge right now. The good news, and that's what we always want to focus on with EarthDay.org, is the solutions. And the good news is that our food can be part of the solution to climate change. To make this a reality, we must first understand how the food is impacting our planet. And scientists estimate that all agriculture is responsible for approximately, as I mentioned before, a quarter of the greenhouse gases. Animal agriculture is estimated to account for up to 80% of this number. While we are using up resources for animal ag, we are also wasting a portion of the food produced in the U.S. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, food waste is estimated at between 30 to 40% of the food supply. So a food print that we're talking about here, a food print for the future, measures the environmental impacts associated with the growing, producing, transporting, and storing of our food. That's where the food print comes from the natural resources consumed to the pollution produced by the greenhouse gases. And through this campaign, we want to highlight the different ways that individuals and institutions can make an impact on their food prints. And with that being said, we are going to move on to our next presenter, who I'm so excited to present. This is Rachel, and she is going to present on climate and environmental literacy. Take it away, Rachel.
Thanks, Tara. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. We're so happy to have you here. Volunteers are really the backbone of the environmental movement and Earth Day in general, so we really appreciate all your efforts. So today I'm going to talk about climate and environmental literacy, but before I do that, I just wanted to talk about what is climate literacy. So a climate literate person is someone who is a critical thinker, who can understand the complex relationships of our climate system and be able to make decisions based on this understanding. So while climate education is the method or the tool, climate literacy is the overall goal that we want to reach. And climate literacy is essential to preparing youth for green jobs, entering the green consumer movement, and just making themselves be part of the solutions to climate change and raise positivity on this extremely daunting challenge. So as Kathleen mentioned earlier, education is so central to Earth Day. And this past year, we have taken it up a notch by officially launching our climate and environmental literacy campaign. And the goal of this campaign is that every school in the world must have compulsory and assessed climate and environmental education with a strong civic engagement component. So let me break this down for you a little bit. This basically means that this kind of education must be equitable, accessible for every single student around the world. It must be taught across subjects. So
Rachel, I am so sorry to interrupt you, but we have Dennis Hayes waiting in the waiting room. So if you don't mind, we're going to go ahead and let Dennis in. We know his time is limited. And I apologize again, Rachel, but Halsey, if you could let Dennis in to give all of our volunteers a greeting, and Rachel, we'll be right back with you. Hi, Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's wonderful to be here. I'm so sorry to interrupt, Rachel. This has been sort of one of those memorable mornings where everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. But any case, it's great to be here with you now. I don't have a lot to say, but let me say just a few words to this wonderful group that you've assembled. For 51 years now, volunteers have been the heart, the soul, the brains, and the muscle of Earth Day. And I'm so grateful to all of you who've given up your time to try to move this thing forward. With regard to the particular theme that Rachel was going on about, it's something that is of particular importance to Earth Day. Environmental literacy is what gives a movement staying power, and climate literacy is what gives an issue staying power. America in particular has had this well-deserved reputation as a counterpuncher. Something bad happens and we just exert ourselves like crazy for a while. There's a Pearl Harbor, and for 4 years we produce, or there's a Sputnik, and for 10 years we produce. With climate change, we're now getting to one of those tipping points in terms of public attitudes where there is just so many fires, so many floods, so many tornadoes, so many melting ice caps and melting glaciers in Greenland. It's stacking up to the point where you can just feel the tectonic shifts. But it's not something that we can solve in 4 years or in 10 years. This is going to be a very long-term commitment through 2050 and then beyond. And the way that you can keep that sort of momentum going is by getting people who really understand the issue, really understand how vitally important it is to make the necessary commitments. And that, at its heart, is climate literacy. And we've suffered very badly from a whole bunch of misinformation that's gone on, some of it by vested economic interests, some of it by just stupid people trying to cause trouble. But now we've got to overcome that. So in summary, one, thank you very much for being here. And two, thank you for anything that you can do to help this campaign toward climate literacy through our schools and through all other media as well, to take root and to flourish. Great, thanks.
Dennis, you're amazing. Thanks so much for joining us. And folks, this is the first volunteer of Earth Day back in 1970. So now we need to follow his lead and his huge shoes. And thank you so much for joining us today, Dennis.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. We appreciate you. All right, that was exciting. And Rachel, thanks so much for being flexible. We've got a lot of curveballs coming at us this morning, and we're just rolling with them. So thanks again, Rachel. And I'll let you take it from here. Halsey, if you can go ahead and put the presentation back on for Rachel. And thanks, Rachel.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it was so amazing to have Dennis speak. I think he really added a lot to this. What I was going to say anyway, that it's so vitally important that people know what climate change is and also just see themselves as part of the solutions. And we, of course, we have suffered a lot from misinformation. So it's so critical that as students are going through their education, that they understand how this connects to them and how they can make a change. So now going back into our climate and environmental literacy campaign, the goal of this campaign is to have compulsory and assessed climate and environmental education in every single school, available for every single student, no matter where they live. So again, this means that it must be accessible for every student, taught across subjects, taught throughout grade levels. I think no one can be too young to start talking about climate change and, of course, the environment around them. It should show progress of literacy, and also it should be connected with the civics part. So it should be connected with how students can make a change and how they could practically apply this material in their everyday lives. While many countries have, in fact, recognized the importance of environmental and climate education, in reality, the quality and consistency of this education varies so much around the world between countries and even within countries themselves. So in order to achieve this goal of compulsory assessed climate environmental education, we have created a sign-on letter addressed to the UN Framework Convention for Climate Change, urging for this education and for this heightened ambition on climate literacy at the upcoming COP26 in November. So ways that we are expecting countries to do this is by making climate education prominent within their nationally determined contributions to the Paris Agreement. And the nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, are each specific country's climate action plan in order to carry out the Paris Agreement and keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius by 2050. So again, climate literacy is essential to making sure that we can restore our Earth and mitigate against the effects of climate change. So you can, in fact, join us by signing onto this letter and also sharing the letter with your networks, individuals, and nonprofit partners. Anyone, even if they're not in the environment or education space, can sign on to this letter. And I think climate literacy is something that involves everyone and each one of us. In addition, you can build climate literacy in your community by hosting a teach-in yourself. And as Kathleen mentioned at the beginning, teach-ins have been something since the very first Earth Day, and we still host them today. And they're just such a great way to raise awareness about certain issues happening in your community. And we actually have a teach-in toolkit on our website to help walk you through a teach-in, how to take action, the different steps, as well as different sample topics you could have this teach-in on. In addition, we just encourage you to raise awareness about climate literacy, what you can do, and just build those connections between climate literacy and green jobs. Thanks. And next, I'd like to introduce Jake Rubenstein, who runs our Great Global Cleanup and End Plastic Pollution campaigns.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate the introduction and great job. Yeah, that was awesome. So what I'll be speaking on today is our End Plastic Pollution campaigns, our Great Global Cleanup campaigns, and our Global Earth Challenge app. One way that I would like to start this is by talking about how drastic the issue of plastic pollution really is today. One analogy that I love to give is that plastic pollution is just like climate change in the sense that it's a global issue. It's affecting everybody. And if you're not a part of the solution, then it's likely that you're a part of the problem. It's like climate change in the sense that it's affecting groups in the world differently than it would be with the kind of global elite countries, for lack of a better word. And I think that it's important to realize that you may live somewhere where you're lucky enough that plastic pollution isn't going to affect you in your day-to-day life. However, that's not the case for everybody. So it's important to keep in mind that your choices around plastic will affect someone somewhere. Our End Plastic Pollution campaign is a campaign focused on identifying and highlighting the most transformative and important bills and actions being taken around plastic pollution today. We find it very important to be able to highlight these things and make sure that they get the recognition that they deserve. Without these type of bills, these new changes, we're only going to continue to drown ourselves in plastic pollution. It's pretty much everywhere. It's in your clothes, it's probably in your house, and it's in the food we eat. So I think it's very important for everyone to realize that plastics is something that needs to be changed. We need more innovation around plastics. We need more plastic alternatives, and we need to support the people that are highlighting and working on these things. One great thing that volunteers can do is take an introspective look at, one, your own life and see how you can cut more plastic out of your lives, and two, take a look at your community and try and act locally. Talk to your community leaders and let them know your concerns around plastic pollution and maybe the way that your community handles it. It's very important that you make your voice heard and let them know your concerns, because that's just the starting point to making those first steps. The other campaign that I will be talking about today, the Great Global Cleanup, this is a volunteer-based campaign. And essentially, we work to support volunteers and cleanup efforts around the world in order to make a difference in these local communities. I think that cleanups are one of the best ways that you can interact with your local environment. It's a very intimate way to interact not only with your environment, but your community as well. You get to know people around you that live in the same area that you may not have met before. In addition to that, it takes community organizing and it shows the power of it. I believe that just starting with a cleanup can take you to places even beyond, to maybe a whole life of environmental advocacy. And then from there, you can see the power of your community using the combined forces of everyone that lives there in order to complete one goal. It's just one way that you can do it, a cleanup, or maybe, like I said, talking to your community leaders, starting a petition, things like that. I think it's very important that we continue to work on these things and continue to organize our community so we can take agency for those things. One way that we are helping our volunteers is through our global cleanup map. You can register any cleanups that you're doing on cleanup.earthday.org. And here you'll be able to see cleanups maybe in your community or around the world. And we just want to do as much as we can to show all the good work that's being done by our volunteers on Earth Day. And all of April too. So Great Global Cleanup, it doesn't just happen on Earth Day. We use all of April in order to make sure that we show that people are doing great things for Earth Day and beyond. And the last thing I'll speak about today is our Global Earth Challenge app. This application is a citizen science-based app. It goes over 4 research topics, including plastic pollution, air quality, classifying insects, and food supply. These we find are very, very important research topics to go over. And we find it extremely important just because it's citizen science based, and citizen science is so valuable. It's a unique look into local environments and unique data that often we don't get from more research based science. So if you want to be a part of this global database that we're pulling together in order to make change in these fields, then you can check out our app and you complete these widgets and these research topics in order to, you know, add data to the database. And it's a huge help. It can help us identify plastics around the world, what types of plastics are ending up in our environment, which is so important because it lets us know where are they coming from, why are they ending up in this community and not this community. So we would love for all of our volunteers to go download the Earth Challenge app and, you know, contribute as a citizen science to us. Well, thank you for the time. I appreciate it. Next, I will introduce David Van Sicklen. He is a business development manager, and he'll be speaking on the Canopy project. And thanks for the time, everyone.
Hey, Digital Products Manager Halsey Payne coming in here. David, we can't hear your audio.
Hey, how's that?
Perfect.
Excellent. Apologies, everyone. As Jake introduced, my name's David. I work on the development team here. And, you know, over in development, I don't always get a chance to interact with all of our volunteers. But, you know, I'm really inspired by all the work that you guys do. As everyone's echoed here today, volunteerism is so necessary to achieve our sustainable development goals and to create lifelong environmentalists. So thank you for everything you do to volunteer and for bringing others in and along with you. Today, I'm going to talk about our reforestation work, specifically through the Canopy project, and a couple of ways you guys can get involved as well. So what we're seeing right now is that the Earth is losing forested land, the equivalent size of the United Kingdom every single year. So that's a lot of forests that you know, we need to work on. And we understand that reforestation is a critical natural strategy in order to slow the pace of climate change and restore our habitats. Planting trees is a really great way to connect people, especially those who might not fully understand the current climate situation, with the importance of restoring our habitats. First off, planting a tree is really easy to understand. Trees need carbon to grow their structures and become massive organisms, and they do this by pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Trees also offer a wider range of environmental benefits, such as land stabilization, increased soil health, and providing habitats for native plants and animals. That's not even to mention all of the systemic benefits of a fully healthy and well-functioning forest ecosystem. And on top of all that, and what we really try to do in our international projects, is that a reforested land can support the people who live there as well. So the projects that we work on are really aimed at ensuring local and indigenous communities feel the direct and indirect benefits of a reforested landscape around them. We do this by repairing dilapidated landscapes and by trying to address food security in our planting projects through the planting of fruit and nut trees that then the local community will tend to and reap the benefits of. Our current planting projects internationally are near Mount Elgin in Uganda, in the Sierra Gorda Biosphere Reserve in Mexico, in central Madagascar, and in the Indian states of Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. So how can you get involved with reforestation and the Canopy project? Well, there are two great ways. First off, I'd ask you guys to plant a tree. Planting a tree is an excellent backdrop for any educational or community event that you might be organizing. If there are any teachers or community organizers or just any interested volunteers among you, you might want to reach out to a local nursery to try and find a suitable tree species that's native and grows well in your area, and plant one or many trees as a commemorative planting connected to your Earth Day events. The other way that you can help us reforest internationally is through our projects. If you'd like to create a donation campaign with your friends, your family on social media, or amongst your community groups, we'd be able to plant one tree for every $1 USD donated that goes directly to our planting communities who are currently under threat from, an array of environmental stressors due to human resource extraction and the continued deterioration of our environments. So I'd love to have you guys support us and help plant a tree in your own communities. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I hope you'll work with us on the Canopy project. So now I'd like to introduce Peter Burr, who will talk a little bit about our earthday.org social squad.
Thanks, David. Halsey, can you pull the presentation back up, or can I not see it? Oh, there we go. Thank you. I'm going to briefly talk about our social media strategy and our social media presence for the next 22 days till Earth Day. And also just a few ways you guys can help expand our reach and influence on social media. Once the slide's up. There it is. Okay, so for the next 22 days until Earth Day, we are planning on, we started with 51 days till Earth Day, 51 actions that individuals can take to make a difference to fight climate change. And that started 51 days from Earth Day because it's our 51st anniversary. But for the next 22 days, we are highlighting what we rank to be the most 22 important, most vital actions that individuals can do. And also, we will have, we are working on a social media squad that I think over 4,000 people have joined, which I'm sure Halsey will send the link into the chat. Thank you for that, Halsey. And you guys can join that. And basically what that is you guys will send an email like the day before saying like, hey, we're posting this at this time. And can you please reshare it, like, comment, engage with the post. And what this does is help us with the Twitter and Facebook and all the social media algorithms, and it will basically push our content to the top of people's feeds, and they'll see it over other posts. So that's basically what the social squad is. So if you want to join that, you can click the link to sign up. And I'm sure we also have toolkits for our Restore Our Earth live stream, which will be on Earth Day. And I'm sure Halsey will also send that link into the chat, and you guys can use that content and language and social media graphics to post on your own personal profiles, or you can share it with your friends and family. We're also willing to help us spread the word. And also, we will have a 3 days of action toolkit, which is not finished yet, but I'm sure if you guys are on our email list or are a member, you will eventually receive that, but that is not finished. And that's pretty much it from me. Thank you for your time. We appreciate everything you guys do. Any little like, share, comment on our social media goes a long way. So if you guys do that, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you so much to all of our campaign managers and leaders. We've got some amazing stuff for all of our volunteers to do, as you can see. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to talk a little bit more about the national campaign with my colleague, Evan. So Evan's going to jump on here with me, and then we're going to open it up to questions about all of the different campaigns. So first and foremost, we work with the national campaign, and so that encompasses all of these amazing campaigns with Restore Our Earth. But in addition to that, we also work with green cities. So we're working with green cities to make sure that they are combating climate change and that they have a goal of reaching zero emissions by 2050. We also want to make sure that these green cities all over the world, not just nationally, but internationally, are committing to their entire city's workforce becoming climate literate and incorporating climate literacy into their work. So Halsey is going to share a link of how you can actually get involved. Green city government officials can get involved by submitting videos to us, excuse me, for Earth Day. And these videos will be used on Earth Day Live, as well as on social media. So we really hope we can get folks involved in this project. It's a wonderful project. And again, Halsey will share the Green City Government Official video submission link with you so you can get involved with that. In addition to the Green City campaign.
Tara, before we move on from the Green Cities, I just want to jump in for a moment to really underline what Tara is saying here, because really more so than any other level of government, more so than the states or even the president, it's local governments that really have the power to change the landscape and have control over what emissions and pollutions are actually reaching the environment and determining how our land can best be used to restore balance and with our earth. And so we really would love to have your support with making sure that your own local cities are greening themselves as well. As Tara mentioned, the link that has been shared in the doc will be a resource for your local governments to be able to start making the path towards a sustainable future. And there are opportunities there for your mayor to sign a proclamation of a climate emergency and get the ball rolling on formally making changes to green the city, as well as opportunities, as Tara mentioned, to be involved in the video as well. And we'd really like your support in making sure that local leaders are seeing these materials and getting involved.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, so take a look at that link, share it far and wide. And then I want to make sure we have enough time for questions, and this will be ending in a few minutes. So Halsey's going to share a link with you as well about our faith and the environment. And we're asking for prayer video submissions for Earth Day. So we're also asking for just a quick 30-second to 1-minute video from faith leaders from all over the world in different denominations, telling us about what you're doing for Earth Day, or sharing a prayer that's important to your denomination, discussing what your community can do to restore the earth, combat climate change, and also support climate literacy. So the deadlines for both of these videos are right around the corner on April 7th. So we want to make sure we get those videos in as soon as possible. We've got amazing videos from all different walks of life for both of these already. And then Evan wanted to mention our supercut video also. And then we're going to open it up to questions for all of our campaigns. So go ahead. If you've got questions you want answered, start putting them in the chat on YouTube. And Evan will go ahead and talk a little bit about our supercut video, which is an awesome opportunity for all of you as volunteers to get involved in.
Sure thing, Tara. So throughout this broadcast, you probably hear me tell you about how earthday.org is all about taking local volunteer efforts and elevating them to a global platform. And one way that all of you can get involved in this in a very literal way is to be part of our Earth Day Worldwide Supercut. We are looking for individual voices from around the world to share their thoughts on how we can come together to build a sustainable, equitable future. And when we all record these small videos, just sharing our small perspective on how we can be a part of the larger solution, when they come together, we get to really see what humanity is thinking and feeling about how we can create this global solution. And so I encourage all of you to record a short 30-second to 90-second video in which you discuss either how you personally can get involved in the environment, or how those with the power to create large-scale change can do their part as well. Just identifying one part of the solution is all we need you to do. And when those are shown side by side with everybody else, I'm hoping that we can create a really powerful film. You can do the entire project from your phone, including submitting it. And I am sharing a link in the chat right now for all of you to take a closer look. This link is just a simple one page to submit your video and sign the video release. And your video will be shared with us and the world on earthday.org official platforms for social media. And if we think that you've said something that the world really needs to know on April 22nd, the 51st anniversary of Earth Day, we would love to be able to also share your spot in our Earth Day live broadcasts, running from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. on April 22nd worldwide.
Awesome. So we're going to open it up to any questions. We've seen a lot of questions coming through while we were presenting today, and a lot of those have been answered. But if you have other questions, now is the time to go ahead and put those in there. And I see that Faith would like to know if the deadline is applicable to all videos. Yes, we have to have everything in by April 7th. That's the same for yours too, right, Evan?
Yes, we had written April 8th, but the 7th would be preferable as well. The sooner the better if you would like your video to have a chance of being featured in our broadcasts.
Yeah, we want to give our editors time to compile all those videos. But also, you know, volunteers, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. You guys are the rock, and you are everything to us. So keep those questions coming if you have any. We've still got all of our campaign managers and directors on with us. So if you have questions about the Canopy project or development or social media or climate literacy or plastic pollution, send those questions in. And if anyone else has anything else they want to add, we've got about another minute left before we will be ending the show. And if there's anyone else that has anything they'd like to add, please feel free. And while we're wrapping things up, is there anything else that anyone wants to add from our campaign leads, or Evan, you as well?
Well, all I would like to add is that I really thank you for taking the time to meet with us today. The people who care to join us and learn about how they can really take this elevated action and be a leader for their peers, friends, families, and communities are the people that are going to make the difference to build the world that we want and need. And so please don't doubt for a second that you're making a difference. I think that knowing that there are people out there like you motivates us to work harder, and I hope that the sentiment is mutual.
Thanks, Evan. We do have a quick question in there. Oh, sorry, Evan. We do have a question about cleanups. And so if you don't mind, Halsey, just maybe sending a link about the cleanups in there that Jake shared earlier. They're asking about where they can find up about resources on gear to use for crews during cleanups. And if you put a link to our global cleanup page on the chat, then we can get some answers to you, to Kika. All right, guys. Thanks. There's the link for the cleanups. And thanks to everybody out there. Thanks for getting involved. I can't wait for all of you to help join us on Earth Day. And we're here for you if you need us. You know how to get in touch with us. So again, check out earthday.org. Restore our Earth this year. It's time to restore our Earth. Thank you.
Thank you.